Hi everybody, Jason Smith here. Thank you for joining me for this episode of The Truth About Social Ads. I'm an agency owner specializing in Facebook and Instagram ads, and I have dedicated my professional life to helping you learn what others won't tell you about Facebook ads. You know, I believe there's so much information that no one is sharing about Facebook ads and how you can fail and win running ads for your business and when it's time to hire an agency. That's why I'm here bringing ideas and information that can help you run successful Facebook and Instagram ads. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Truth About Social Ads. Super excited for this episode. We're going to be talking about attribution models, and specifically one main attribution model, which is what we've developed, actually what Eric's been working his freaking butt off to develop, so we can give our customers true attribution model with Facebook so they can see their numbers inside of the dashboard. Well, not inside of the Facebook dashboard, but inside of the dashboard that Eric's come up with. So what's up, man? Super excited for this episode. How you doing?
Doing good, man. We got some good ones coming up, and I'm gonna make myself get this done by calling it out. So there's visuals today that we're gonna discuss, and you can find those visuals on our website to download them if you want to reference them at spotlightsocialadvertising.com. You can go and download the visuals that we're going to be referencing and talking about today.
Yeah, we'll drop a link in the show notes as well, so you can have it there. And what do they just go to the podcast link there on the website, Eric, and then they can go to this episode?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a download section, so that people can download and then access like the different visuals that we have. So we have it for each of our podcasts. For the audience, for each of our podcasts, we have a topic. Most of them make sense to have a visual. And then we also send out emails and post to Instagram about those topics, but there's a visual that accompanies it.
Cool.
So yeah, just our website and you can find it from there.
Awesome. Yeah. This is an important topic, especially now because of iOS. I know we've had a lot of customers and even other agencies come to us and say, hey, what are you guys using for reporting and attribution, because the Facebook dashboard is no longer reporting. And we've actually heard from a few clients, Eric, that that some agencies aren't even reporting on return on ad spend. Like they can't even report on it. And Eric and the team have been working super hard to get the solution resolved. And we've partnered with a third-party reporting agency, and these guys are awesome. And I think we've got the solution now. So Eric, you want to cue it up and let everybody know what's going on?
Yeah, so basically we are able to still see view through data, which was the biggest, factor with the iOS 14 update. And one thing I will say before we dive in, kind of larger scale, is that our agency has successfully, I want to say, conquered and beat iOS. There still are limitations. It's changed the way paid ads work. Mm-hmm. There's no way around that. But the big impact was out about a month ago. And what happened is a lot of people were just hearing like, oh, Facebook's not working. Well, they're hearing from people that haven't conquered the iOS update.
Yeah.
And we have. And so we've actually got a lot of clients because people are like, really? You guys can report on return on ad spend? And for anybody that doesn't know the industry standard, we're going to be talking about media efficiency ratio versus return on ad spend. And just to explain for anybody that doesn't know what those specifically mean, media efficiency takes into account your paid traffic, but then also your organic and other items such as SMS and email, and looking at, are you spending media efficiently with your company as a whole? Whereas ROAS, or return on ad spend, is specifically to Facebook and within Facebook. And a lot of, on stage, a lot of people, at a conference were even saying like, oh, you just have to look at media efficiency now. Well, that's not true, because we can still report on ROAS with our reporting and data software. So, and then understanding what we want to talk about today is understanding the different attribution models and why it's important to understand why you look at things a certain way on Google, why you look at things differently on Amazon, and then why you look at things even more different on Facebook. So data is subjective. We just had, and I don't care if someone listens to this, we just had one of our clients, Google's agency, send us over a report pointing everything bad out about Facebook and everything good about Google. It's like, well, duh. If you look at the data that way, it's going to look bad, right?
Right.
You're talking about intent-driven traffic, search-based traffic, and the click and conversion on that is totally different than a customer journey on Facebook where we're sending an ad, casting a net, targeting, retargeting, and retargeting again. It's just a different process. You can't.
Well, it baffled me that a Google agency running only their Google ads sent them a report on Facebook. So sent them a report on Facebook numbers, which were totally off, by the way. But that just tells me that they're trying to get the Facebook business, and that's not good for business in general. But if I'm a Facebook agency, I'm not going to report on Google and say how horrible Google is. And let me just explain for those of you who don't know what view through is. Most of you probably do, but let me just explain what view through is really quick and what Eric touched on at the beginning. So what view through attribution is, and we can no longer report on that in the Facebook dashboard. Okay, so that's why your numbers probably look a little crazy and a little weird in Facebook, is because view through attribution. Now, view through attribution is always something that has been really controversial as well. Like, of course, Google agencies are going to say, oh, well, if they saw the Google ad last, then Google should get credit for that purchase. But that's not in the real world. That's not really how things work. So view through attribution is this: if someone sees a Facebook ad today about Eric selling skateboards, because he used to be a professional skateboarder, so I'm using the skateboard analogy here. If Eric has a company, an e-commerce company selling skateboards, and he's got Facebook, Google ads running, and Eric sends somebody, and I see a Facebook ad for his skateboards, but I don't click on it. I may like it or I may share it, something like that, but I don't click on it. I don't go to the website. I don't do anything. The first touch, that attribution, right? The first credit of them being introduced to the brand goes to Facebook and should go to Facebook. And then let's say later, I'm like, oh shoot, what was that brand again? Eric Skateboards. I go and Google it and I purchase off of that Google search. What's happening now is Google is getting the only credit, the only attribution for that one ad. And that's where view through comes in. Facebook was actually the one that introduced them to the brand, made them remember the brand, but they just use Google as a way to search the brand to purchase, right? So as a Facebook agency, I'm thinking, okay, well, Facebook should probably get that attribution or that credit for that purchase because the initial touch was with Facebook. And vice versa. If Google was the first one, then Google should get it. You know what I mean? And so that's what the view through attribution is there's a customer journey involved in everything that we do. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not one to quickly buy. It really depends on what it is. If I'm motocross, but I like my cars to be really clean, right? So I'm into detail products and I like doing all that myself. So I wash my cars myself and all that. And I just enjoy it. And if I see a Facebook ad or a Google ad, whatever it is, for car products, and I know it's good, I may buy that right away. But something that I needed a little more explanation, I usually don't buy right there. Go home to my desktop. I will go to the website or Google search it or see it on Facebook again, get retargeted or whatever it is. There's a whole customer journey to what you're doing on any platform. And that's essentially what should be reported on, not just the last click, right? So anyways, long explanation for view through, but there you have it.
Yeah. And so one thing I'll add in is that when we say view through's gone on Facebook, and Jason was the first one to ask this, and then obviously all of us were wondering this as iOS rolled out, is, well, the way Facebook works is that we set the targeting and then the algorithm goes out and learns. And so there's a learning mode. And so right when we heard about iOS and how it was going to shift things, Jason was just like, how is it going to learn? And so we now know the answer to that. It's statistical modeling. So it takes the data point that it has and it essentially guesses how many add to carts, how many. And also I should add in that we can still track everything before someone clicks on Facebook. So if someone, views, they view multiple times for impressions and reach. If they click, the click-through rate, the view time, video views campaign, we can still accurately track all of that inside of the Facebook dashboard.
Yep.
After the click, we can't track that anymore because of iOS. So essentially, what Facebook did to continue learning is statistical modeling. So it's important to remember looking at ads that when the statistical modeling is there, even though it may not be accurate because Facebook's guessing, that's still what it's using to learn and deliver your campaigns. Now there's other things coming into play like Shopify audiences and pushing data back into Facebook that will increase this over time. But that's kind of an important point on top of what Jason was saying. Now, as far as the data and the different platforms, really what we want to talk about today is why it's important to look at them differently and understanding what they are. So the reporting platform we use, Northbeam, and we've tried a bunch of others, and it's kind of our secret weapon. And what they use currently is multi-touch attribution. So what they do is they take the number of transactions and then they're e-commerce focused. They take the number of transactions and they say, and this is where the visual comes into play. In the downloads, you'll see there's one that has 100 products, and then one they saw an email and they saw a Google ad. Well, what multi-touch does is they'd say, okay, well, this one, they saw an email and a Facebook ad. So it's going to, by machine learning, attribute part of that to the Facebook ad and part of that to the email so that you as a business owner can see what your different, medias, whether it's SMS, email, Google, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, whatever it is, organic, and you can see what's working. Now, multi-touch is different than all touch. So I'm going to give a bad example of Google Analytics and a very specific that we had one client, and sorry if you're listening, but I got to tell this story. We had one client that, and I'm not going to name a name, but actually thought because Google Analytics was showing like 60 grand in revenue during whatever time period, and then 5,000 in Facebook ads. And then we're looking at, this was before iOS, when it was working. And we're looking at Facebook going like, you're at an 8 ROAS. So Google cannot be accurate, but that's all touch. So Google is basically taking credit for every single thing that it touches. Whether someone Googled and then didn't buy there and went to a Facebook ad, they're still taking credit for that. And with Facebook, with Northbeam, with our reporting software, we can still see that view through, but it is currently multi-touch. So that there's a difference between multi-touch and then all touch like Google and how Facebook was before. And the happy news here is that they're also rolling out a Facebook view. So pretty soon, we will have back how we used to look at data within Facebook. And that is huge. We've had client sales calls just end and people say, okay, we're signing up, just because we're able to deliver that with our stuff. So I'm going to talk about the different platforms, Jason, but anything to add to that before we jump topics?
No, yeah. I mean, and this has been a huge focus of the agency, or our agency is making sure that we number one, understand the different attribution models. And, you can't really compare. Like if you use Google Analytics right now for your reporting or reporting, especially from Facebook, it's going to be totally off. Numbers have always been off. And the main reason why is because Google will always report on last click. Well, there's a lot more to a customer journey than just last click. So that's why numbers are always off. So just that really. But yeah, I mean, this has been a huge focus of ours. we want to make sure that we're not going down a rabbit hole of all this confusing data. We need to know exactly what's going on with Facebook, mainly with Facebook and Instagram reporting on the dashboard. You can no longer trust the actual business manager dashboard anymore to be completely accurate with statistical modeling and all that stuff. Like, to me, that just doesn't make sense, but that's what we have to work with. So if we have that to work with, we want to make sure that we have solid numbers for our clients going forward. And Northbeam is I think what we found the way to go.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we're able to keep our clients' numbers strong. I mean, we really, there was a certain uncertainty with iOS, and even being really good at what we do, there was still it was uncharted territory, and it's really good to have this data back and see our clients getting awesome success with it. We stopped complaining about iOS like a month ago because clients were so tired of hearing it that they just needed to know that we were winning and getting good
we
results.
were tired of hearing it. We were tired of hearing it, dude. I like, this has been, it's, and I don't care what any agency says, this has been a little bit of a mission, and really only because we're trying to find a solution here. We're not just like going, hey guys, you know what? I'm sorry. You're just going to have to look at your Shopify numbers and then what we spend on Facebook to see exactly, how much return on ad spend. But that's not always the way it works. There's a lot more to that than just looking at what gets deposited into your bank account and what we spent on Facebook. So,
yep. Yeah. So totally. So moving to the different platforms and analyzing data, I'm going to do a real quick analogy. So, it's like having kids. You have, a jock, you have a creative artist, and you have, a bearded, tatted son like Jason. So you have to you can't treat the jock the same way that you treat the artist, the same way that you treat the dirt bike riding kid. They're each different, different animals, different beasts. And it's the same thing with Google and Amazon and Facebook and all the different platforms. From, how are they delivered? Is there ad copy or no ad copy? Are people searching? Are people not searching? And you can't just treat every single platform the same because they're different. And you cannot do that. You will start to take away from good things. If, and same thing if you treat Amazon like you treat Facebook. They're just different. There's not the branding ability. It's a different way to reach people. So with that said, let's talk about Google versus Facebook versus Amazon. And I'll start by saying you have to think through the customer journey. So when you're doing search ads on Google, of course, your conversion rate from click is going to be way higher because someone just searched. They searched for something, and the company paid to, serve the ad to the person who just searched for something. You search, and then it says ad, and then you go right there and buy. That's completely different from someone scrolling through Instagram and getting hit with an ad to buy some clothing. They weren't planning on buying clothing looking at Instagram. So we need more touch points. We need, to see who clicked, and then we need to retarget them. It's just a totally different journey, customer journey, not philosophical journey. It's a different
but Eric,
process.
but why does it take us a week to get up Facebook ads, but Google ads are up in a day?
And with YouTube, you don't have to write ad copy. There's no ad copy. So, we get a video, and then we have to adjust it. We get an HD video, and then we have to adjust it so that it's square is what we prefer for the Instagram feed, and vertical for reels and stories. And then we have to write ad copy. So we have to produce and edit videos. We have to get captions, and our copywriter has to think through your brand and your product and your offer and write a compelling headline in ad copy. So it's different. It's,
totally different. Yeah.
It's so funny when, sometimes people are like, well, the Google guy got it up in one day. Well, that's because he uploaded the video and, placed the ad.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep, for sure.
Very different process.
So many more hoops to jump through on Facebook than Google, Snapchat, TikTok, like all those. I mean, TikTok, you just like do a little bit of a headline. Snapchat, the same thing, and it's like, that's it. It's super easy to get ads up. Facebook takes a lot more thought and effort. And it's funny because I often hear too that, oh, well, nobody reads ad copy anymore. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do.
They sure do.
And I will back that up. And I will say, and I said this in a previous episode, so I'll just be real quick, but I saw a headline carry an account single-handedly from 0 to 30 grand a month in 1 month. And it was the headline and the video together. And that same video with a different headline didn't perform at all. So ad copy and headlines, especially headlines, and ad copy are still completely relevant. Yeah. And we're talking, of course, referring mainly to Facebook and Instagram ads. But again, it's different. We'll get down to specifics, but just to kind of go over a few key insights to attribution before we get down to discussing attribution models is, first of all, how we look at the data. So for Amazon, and one insight I will share is that when you're looking at product pages on Shopify, Amazon is just so good at it. And that's not, I'm not saying I'm the specialist at conversion rate optimization. We send people to one of our partners to get that done. But I will say that Amazon's pages and the way that they're laid out, that they're like masterpieces on how to sell products. So back to the point, Amazon, a lot of clients come to us and they say, oh, I'm killing it on Amazon. I'm going to kill it on Facebook. It depends. And we do kill it for clients who also kill it on Amazon. But I will say that it's different. So on Amazon, you go there. First of all, you're in a store. You're in a store online. And then second of all, you search and the search serves you what you're looking for. So those are two very strong points or key points to the Amazon customer journey. Now, it won't always work on Facebook if it works on Amazon. Sometimes it will, and we do our absolute best if someone comes to us and says, I'm killing it on Amazon, let's kill it on Facebook. If we don't think it's going to work on Facebook, we'll say no. We're pretty good at it, but we do have brands that we absolutely kill it on Facebook and they're on Amazon also. It just depends on the specific brand. But when you look at data and you look at, someone clicks on an Amazon ad, how much is the, percentage of people that buy after they click on Amazon? It's through the roof.
Yeah.
Because they went there to buy.
Right.
Very similarly, Google search, very different Facebook.
Yeah.
And YouTube is a little more similar to Facebook and Instagram in the sense of you can retarget. It's a video that you watch, but you have to look at the data differently. And then after, establishing that, we can talk about specifics and how we want to look at Facebook data. Anything to add to the differences of the platforms, Jason?
No. Yeah. We get all the time, well, Google's doing this and YouTube's doing this. Okay, well, it's totally different platform. Yes, we can test the same creatives on every platform, right? Not necessarily ad copy, but creatives, videos and images and stuff. But when we get the question like, well, how come Google is doing better or not doing as good or this? It's a completely different platform. Like, you can't even really compare apples to apples there because it's not apples to apples. It's two completely different ways of segmenting the traffic, ways that you put the ads up, ways that they're looking at the traffic. But I do agree with you. I think YouTube is probably a little similar because when you're watching a video, a little pop-up at the bottom says, hey, are you interested in a mastermind for agency owners or whatever? And then maybe I'll click on it. They're throwing it into your feed, I guess you can say, like Facebook. But yeah, totally agree. Everything's subjected to the data is like Eric can read the data a little different than me, unless it's cut and dry. Like, we spent this much and we made this much. We're at a 10x return. Right. Yep. So yeah. And it sucks because really there should be a way for us to connect all these platforms and for it to spit out what we need it to, but it doesn't. You have to look at everything differently.
Yeah, and it's important to know, a lot of times what happens now is it's a good thing and a bad thing that because of, Northbeam reporting and data, we're now able to see what Google's doing and they're able to see what we're doing. And
Yeah.
the business owner is able to, see that also. But, I'm training our media buyers weekly and even daily on, we have intense training sessions where we train them once a week on ads and reporting. And then, of course, throughout the week, we're sending Loom videos and getting better and better at it. But you have to know how to look at the data. If you pull first touch or you pull your attribution window and, knowing that it's multi-touch attribution within Northbeam, you really need to understand the data. And so sometimes when the business owner gets in there and starts looking at stuff, it looks confusing. So you have to know how to look at the data to know if you're doing good or not, because like Jason said, it is subjective and you have to look at it differently. So, and then also I will add this too. There's different things to understand about different platforms, like what they actually do. And that's where you kind of like Jason was saying a minute ago, like we jump on with another agency, or this may have been in our last episode. You jump on with another agency that they're in it every day, and you say, oh yeah, this client wants to scale up by $5,000 a day all at once. They get it because they have experience in action and they know that can throw performance off. Pinterest, for example, you set the budget, it won't spend that budget for 4 days or depending on different factors. So it's important to know what they do and how that affects the data that you're looking at. So with Facebook, what we want to look at is multi-touch and all touch, which we'll be able to have all touch soon. You don't want to, it's good now to be able to see both. When iOS happened, it kind of worked backwards with Northbeam because before in Business Manager, before iOS, we were looking at all the data inside of Business Manager, but that was pixel data. So it was reporting in Facebook, everything all touch or anything that it had touched that met, certain criteria, like they'd seen the ad and they'd hit the pixeled conversion page or without diving too far into attribution. So basically you want to be able to look back about 30 days. So we want a 30-day attribution window. And that's because it depends on the product. It depends on how long the customer journey is. But sometimes it's you see it and you buy it. And of course, those brands are great. They have different problems. Other times it's you have to retarget about 5 times to get someone to buy. So you want a 30-day, on average, 7. It used to be 7 and 28 day, but with Northbeam, we do 7 and 30 day. So you're going to need to look at that view through. Again, very different than a Google ad where someone has intent, clicks, and then buys right then. So view through allows us with Northbeam to be able to see who we've retargeted and closed down. So that's one important component of what we're looking at. Okay, so another thing to understand, I know I talked about this, is multi-touch attribution. I just want to talk a little bit more about that. So multi-touch attribution is tied to transactions. So number of purchases and saying, okay, Facebook gets 75% of this transactions. So that's why if you go into Northbeam and you look at your transactions, you'll see like 74.3. Well, that's because their multi-touch attribution model is giving Facebook 75% of that purchase and 35% of another purchase because they saw an email and a text. So it's important to understand that we're looking at multi-touch attribution currently, and in the near future, we'll be able to see all touch inside of Northbeam, which is everything that Facebook's touched. And both of those help us make better decisions. Any other factors there, Jason? The attribution window, clicks and views is view through. Mm-hmm. And those are really the main ones that you want, to set in Facebook is, knowing that you're looking at a 30-day window. So it includes accrual, or it includes views from clicks and views from the past, because that really it's fair. And when, people want to look at their Facebook ads like they look at their search ads, they're just going to be disappointed because people, the click-through rate on Facebook's 1% is a good one, right? Yeah. Imagine the click-through on Google ads or Amazon where someone searches, they click, they buy. It's going to be through the roof higher,
Yeah.
the conversion. So anyways, those are the main ways you want to look at attribution on Facebook. You want to have clicks and views so you can have view through. You want to have a 7 or a 30-day attribution window, and you either want multi-touch or all touch, and compare the two. And then there's other views that we'll look at, like we'll look at cache mode. We'll look at, clicks without view through, just to see who's buying right now, like quick on the customer journey.
And that's more like a Google, that's more like a GA reporting model. Is like what they last did today, right? And the only other thing important to touch on too is Facebook can no longer report on 30 days. It's 7 days. That's why it's super important for you to have a reporting software where you can look at and see what has gone on in the last 30 days. Because if you pull last 30 days on Facebook, it's going to be inaccurate. It's not going to report correctly. So spend will be accurate, but everything else will be like super off. And that's why it's important to have a platform you can go into and say, okay, 30 days, what's been going on in the last 30 days? And we found that that's super important, because if your product lasts 30 days, right, like a 30-day span, that's super important for reporting and knowing that as well. Like if your product is super expensive and you expect someone to come back in 10 days to purchase, it's not realistic, right? So yeah, and it's too bad that this can get so confusing, and you can see why clients and agencies go down this like crazy deep rabbit hole of attribution and last touch, first touch, like all this stuff. I just want to be able to send clients an accurate reporting of, hey, okay, you've spent this much, you've made this much, and you're at this ROAS in the last 30 days. That's important for us. And Facebook won't do that anymore.
Yeah. And it just to the business owners, it's just going to get frustrating. And some of you are saying duh, and to others this is like, oh cool, that's a good recommendation. You just can't. You're going to get frustrated if you compare apples to oranges to watermelons. They're not the same. It just, you can't do it, and it's just going to frustrate you. Like, why isn't Facebook performing like Google? Well, it's not going to. It's It's just different.
And you can't have a Google reporting platform like Google Analytics reporting on a Facebook platform that is not passing the data through correctly. Can't.
Like Data Studio and Google Analytics.
Yeah, and even when Facebook was normal, like before iOS, we would get this question probably once a week. Well, Google Analytics is saying this. Well, Google Analytics is not right. It's reporting on last touch. That's it. What action they took very last. And there's a lot more to that. And that's why Facebook numbers were always off before, was because Facebook is giving you the numbers based on like a 30-day attribution cycle or what that customer did in 30 days. Anyhow.
Yeah. And also, to add to that, also it's nice to see, we actually now with Northbeam, we actually have more data than we did before. Now, the learning mode is a little different on Facebook, and it's affected the targeting a little bit. Like I said, we're still getting great results, but So just wanted to add that in. So
okay,
awesome. Cool. So just keep in mind, that if anybody listening is like, oh, I don't have view through, we do, and that's one thing that we love showing, potential clients is like, we can still report return on ad spend. Yeah, and we still have view through, and within weeks we're going to have the Facebook view all touch back. So
awesome.
If any questions there, reach out, email us, Eric or Jason at spotlightsocialadvertising.com, and we're glad to give you a demo and show you how we're able to still have accurate data and explain any attribution questions.
Yep, cool. And then we should have that download up on the site when the podcast episode launches, so you can go to the site. We'll have we'll have a link in the show notes, and you can download this little PDF and kind of showing you what's going on there. But we're super excited for this solution. Eric's been working his butt off to get this done. The whole team has, and this is now mandatory for all of our clients to have when they come on. So unfortunately, Facebook has stuck you with another fee that you have to pay monthly, but it's either that or have zero visibility in what's going on in your Facebook ads and accurately tracking what's going on across all the platforms, because we can report on pretty much anything, even SMS now, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, and you guys can thank Apple for that one.
Yeah,
having to pay
Apple,
for North
awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we're just lucky we got smart people that we know that can help us mitigate some of these issues. And all right, awesome. Well, anything else, Eric, to add?
No, that's it. Just real quick for those downloads, just go to our site. It'll be a download section. So spotlightsocialadvertising.com. That's it.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We know these topics like attribution models and all this stuff can be super confusing. We're here to try to break it down and make sure that it's not confusing. But if you need anything, like Eric said, reach out to us. Let us know. More than happy to help whatever way we can. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Thanks, Eric.
Take care, guys. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to The Truth About Social Ads. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Please visit our website at truthaboutsocialads.com for show notes and additional episodes. And if you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and please consider rating and reviewing the show if you enjoyed it. That will help other people find us. By the way, I would love to hear from you. Please send me an email at jason@spotlightsocialllc.com with your feedback, questions, or a topic you'd like me to talk about on the show. If you send me a question, maybe I'll read it on the show. See you later. Bye.